Around 490 BC, the Greeks were battling with Persia around the city called Marathon, and they won the victory. And to let the Greeks know about the victory, Philippides was sent to go to Athens to proclaim the victory. And he did. But he ran. And he ran for 26.2 miles until he finally got to Athens. And with his last breath, he proclaimed, "We conquer." And he dropped dead. Now, all over the world, people now recreate that run of 26.2 miles on purpose and call it a marathon. And the only way to win this race is not to be the first one across the finish line, but to endure to the end and cross the finish line. And that's what I want to talk about this week on my Glorify thy name. Glorify thy name. Glorify thy name in all the earth. Well, my name is Mike Grant, and welcome to another 5-minute message. Endurance is what this life is all about. It's not just going through, getting the excitement of becoming a Christian, and then going back to your lifestyle and living the same way we always have. No, we must endure this life for Christ, following his word to the end to be successful. In Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 through 3, it says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and the perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that has been set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured from sinners such hostility against himself, so that you may not grow weary or faint-hearted." Jesus suffered the ultimate in humiliation and shame and death and pain and suffering for us. And just as he endured that, we are to endure the slings and arrows of this life to the end for Christ. If you want me to put it in simpler words, don't quit. Never give up on the task that is set before us by God. I want you to think about this for a minute. If no one had ever quit the Church of Christ, let me clip that out. If no one had ever quit the churches, today they would be overflowing. We wouldn't have enough seats for everybody. We'd have to be building more and more buildings, having more and more congregations, because there's no room. But the problem is, we do quit. We lose people quite often. Paul wrote a very poignant thought in Galatians chapter 5, verse 7. He said, "You were running well. Who hindered you from obeying the truth?" And that's what happens. Something gets in the way and it prevents us from obeying God. So what are those things that we need to be aware of so that we don't quit? We need to endure temptation. Satan is always going to be throwing those temptations out to try to trip us up. But James chapter 1 verse 12 said, "Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive a crown of life, which the Lord has promised to them that love him." Temptation will never end. Satan will always be trying to trip us up. As soon as we made the decision to become a Christian, he put a target on our back and he's out to get us. And we have to endure those temptations. The second thing we have to endure is suffering. In this life, there are going to be hard times, and we have to endure those hard times. Remember, Paul was enduring incredible suffering at the hands of the Romans and the Emperor Nero. In 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 5 and 8, when he knew was going to be the end of his life, he wrote this: "As for you, always be sober-minded, endure suffering. Do the work of an evangelist, fulfill your ministry. For I am already poured out as a drink offering, and the time of my departure has come. I have fought a good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. And not only to me, but also to all who have loved his appearing. Just as Paul had to endure all of his trials, so we must endure our trials as well. Never let it get us down, and always remember where we're headed. The last thing I want to talk about today that we need to endure is we need to endure the scorn and the hatred of this world. We're seeing it every day, and unfortunately more and more in the United States. Jesus even warned his disciples that they would be hated. In Matthew chapter 10, verses 20 through 22, for it is not you who speak, but the Spirit of your Father is speaking through you. Brother will deliver brother over to death, and the father his child. And children will rise against parents and have them put to death. And you will be hated by all for my name's sake. But to the one who endures to the end will be saved. That's the key. We have to endure this to the end. Never give up. Never surrender. But endure to the end. And when we do, we receive our reward. Just remember to never lose confidence in Christ. It is that confidence that will see us through. In the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verses 35 and 36. Therefore, do not throw away your confidence, which was a great reward. For you have need of endurance, so that when you have done the will of God, you may receive what is promised. In this crazy world of challenges, trials, temptations, hatred, let us endure by keeping our eyes on the goal of Christ. Thank you for watching. Lord,